Hey everybody, it's Steve. I wanted to go through a quick little update in this video on how I built this Christmas tree layout that I had a video on back in December. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so this layout, like most of my other ones, was built mostly on foam. What I did do initially was purchase what is one of these little pine tabletops that I picked up from Home Depot for $8, $9, whatever it was. And I added layers of foam insulation board on top of that and basically built up this mountain structure in the middle. But I left an opening for this Christmas tree, which I actually purchased at Walgreens for, on sale at some point back in late November, and with the intention of building this little layout. And so the goal was to make something that was just battery powered and didn't need to be plugged in, could be moved easily, and was reasonably lightweight. And so again, that's why most of it was foam construction. Now, if you look back in the previous video, you'll notice that I did actually use, once again, spray foam on this layout. But what I did differently this go around was right after the foam started expanding, I went through with a pair of nitrile gloves on and smoothed out the foam with my hand. So I basically took out sort of like an inch of the expansion that had taken place already, got it back down to sort of a flat layer, and then it expanded again. But because I did that, the total expansion was less than half what it would have been had I not done that. And so the end result was that the foam surface that's here is extraordinarily dense. It's much denser than normal spray foam would be, since again I removed a lot of the air from the foam during its expansion process. And it actually was much more dense than the foam insulation board that I used for a lot of the base and the initial interior construction. And so it actually made it kind of difficult to sand that down with my SureFoam tool. But eventually I did, and the resulting surface was quite hard. And I did go ahead on top of that and put down a layer of spackle. It was the lightweight spackle that you can get from most home improvement centers, and that, again, to keep things light and smooth out the overall surface. Now, one thing I did on the back side here was I went ahead and cut out an opening for some battery packs. And this green one here was the battery pack that came with the Christmas tree itself. It has 3 AA batteries and powers the LED Christmas lights for quite a while. We had something else sort of similar, and we had the lights on and off throughout the entire holiday season without replacing them one time, so that they do last quite a while. This is another battery pack that I made to power the train itself, and this is basically all this is a 9-volt battery wired to a double pole, double throw switch, so I can basically, with a center off position, so I can have it off and then basically change directions. And so there's no speed control, but it does put 9 volts to the track, which is a relatively good voltage to cruising a moderate speed on a train that is going around the track. So that works out pretty well. It's very easy to control. Anyway, the track on this layout is, again, Kato unitrack. It's a mix of radii, the 7 or 7.5 inch radius curves, whatever they are, and the 8 to 8.5 inch radius curves. So the net radius is something like, about 8 inches on average, a little bit less than that probably. This whole layout is 18 inches in diameter, so that kind of gives you an idea of the size of this whole setup. And so I needed to have about 1 inch on each side. So it's about a 16-inch diameter circle of track. So after I got that glued in, again, it's just wired up to that battery pack, very simple, 2 wires, and that's all. To go through and kind of finish things, I did pick up some of the Woodland Scenics pre-stained rock outcroppings, a box of those. I only used maybe 5, I think, from the box, so I have quite a few of those left still. But I glued those on in various spots along the front, and then using, again, more of the spackling compound, I went ahead and created a sort of a plaster layer around about 1/2 to 2/3 of the layout. And then after that dried, I just basically took a knife and went through and added some rock texture and kind of blended that into the rock outcroppings that I had glued in there, and then painted everything again to kind of blend everything together. Once that was done, I would sprinkle on layers of hydrocal, try to do that to kind of smooth things out. I also got a powdered flake snow that it's not Woodland Scenics brand, it's something similar. And I also added several layers of that throughout the layout. The trees, these are a mix of various manufacturers, simple bottle brush type evergreen trees. And what I did was I basically added on a layer of like their flex paste stuff. It's kind of like Mod Podge, something like that. Basically it's a white pasty material that I kind of brushed on to create some sort of clumps of snow on the trees. And I tried initially just doing spray paint, and that looked okay, but I wanted to have something more clumpy on there to look like it had heavier snowfall. It's a pretty simple project. The whole build time was fairly short. In terms of total hours, it was probably less than 10 hours to build this project, maybe 8 hours, something like that. So it was a fairly quick build overall. It turned out pretty well, and I think for the most part, I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. This was really my first try at doing anything snowfall related, so one tip certainly is to try to get your actual surface as perfectly smooth as you can. It's a lot harder to try to cover up any imperfections in your scenery by adding layers of plaster or flake snow on top of it. It's far easier to have a perfectly smooth surface first and then just add on a thin layer of whatever covering that you want to use to create your sort of loose snow look on your layout. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, bye.